Welcome to Roseflower Radio, the show that goes behind the scenes of your favorite independent artists and creatives. I'm your co-host, Micah Wilson.
And I'm your co-host, Finlay Matthias. With us today, we had Grant Dxcklin.
Yes.
Incredible artist. We've known him personally. Micah knows him a little bit more than me. This was only like my second time meeting him, I believe. Really dope guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's a producer, he's an artist, an instrumentalist, as well as just used to be a dancer. We found out a lot about him. So, yeah, make sure to subscribe here on YouTube. And then if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to follow the podcast. That way you never miss another future release. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy our conversation with Grant. And without further ado, let's jump into it.
All right.
And then we jump into it.
That was no fun.
Yeah,
that was like...
That's it. You're just watching the little thing go, and that's not even fun. It's like, you know, like those ads that pop up on games when you're playing a video game, and then the little slot machine comes up, and they're like saying, you should try it. And then you click in, and it sends you to the app. Like, that's kind of what it feels like. Just
I feel like that thing's messed up to begin with, because I feel like you're like, especially like it's kids games, you know, and you're giving kids an incentive to like gamble. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of sketchy gambling advertising on TikTok. I don't know if you've seen the one where it's like the guy's like calling, like, I have a complaint. I was told I would hit a jackpot in the first 10 spins on this game, or I'd get my money back. And it cuts like some lady in a call center. She's like, that's right. On Lucky Tunes, if you don't hit a jackpot in your first 10 spins, you guaranteed to get your money back. Like some sketchy ass like gambling advertising
I
on
haven't
TikTok.
Heard of that scam, but that's
it's some
crazy.
really
I just play Clash of
sketchy
Clans,
shit.
you know, like that's the only gems I'll ever spend.
He gambles on
bro.
Clash of Clans battles, bro.
We're already kind of started. We're just getting situated, but we're already good.
Are we rolling?
Yeah, we're already rolling.
We've been rolling?
We've been rolling.
Oh,
I went over to talk to him.
I was thinking, I'm sure you guys are rolling. I was like, everyone's already
We're
talking.
sneaky,
Like,
bro.
we're already
We're
sitting here like
We're
everyone's
so
dialed.
good, we even tricked me. That's how good we are.
We're trying a new intro thing, because we would originally like start and like shut up the conversation, because we'd sit down and like do a little bit of small talk, and then we'd like stop, do an intro, and then just be like, hi, welcome, first time meeting you.
So it's like we like reset.
Yeah. So we're trying, this is also, we're
trying a
working on
new
that
thing.
too.
Yeah,
But
I think it's working. I think it's a great way
thanks,
to start it.
as long as you feel comfortable.
Yeah, I'm all good.
Let's talk about you. Let's talk about your life. Introduce yourself to people. Who are you? Give you your blanket elevator statement.
Blanket elevator statement. Full name, Grant Robert Dxcklin.
Let's go.
We got, my artist name is Dxcklin. I know the X is in it. Sometimes people say Dxcklin.
I was gonna ask.
Or Ducklin. You know, totally fine. I think it's funny, honestly. But Dxcklin is the full
So last name Dxcklin, where's that stem from?
Sweden.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah. So my dad's side of the family is like from Sweden.
Okay.
And my dad's dad is actually born from Sweden, and he immigrated to the U.S. My dad doesn't know any Swedish. He doesn't really have an accent or anything. He never grew up, you know, speaking Swedish in the house or anything. But yeah, a lot of my family like still lives there. I have distant cousins and like relatives who are there. At some point, they used to do like reunions and whatnot, like every year.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, that'd be kind of fun. Like head
Go
out
to Sweden.
Pull up
Yeah,
to
go to
Sweden
Sweden,
real
pull up
quick.
to Stockholm. Like that'd be sick. Eventually, I will do that.
So you've never been back to the motherland?
Never been back to the motherland.
Okay, gotcha.
It calls to him every night, but he hasn't been
This is just
able.
a horn.
Yeah, we used to have the like mugs with like the flag on them
Yeah.
in our house.
I feel like I like Sweden's flag, you know what I mean?
Dude,
It's a big
Sweden's
plus.
It's a
like-
good looking flag.
It is a good looking flag.
It's just a cross.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's a big plus.
Oh, I think you said it's a big cross, and I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. You're smart. I'm sorry. I let you down.
I know.
Okay, so so where'd you grow up in?
I grew up mainly in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Okay.
In this smaller part of Salt Lake called Sugar House.
Okay,
Sugar
land of the
House.
Mormons.
It's like, you know, there's not really like there is districts in Salt Lake, you know, like everywhere else. But
Nah.
like people usually just say I'm from Salt Lake.
Yeah.
But Sugar House is just like a neighborhood area. It's just like a little small town. There's some food and some other
Okay.
stuff. It's honestly grown like since then. Like there's a sick little record store there I used to go to called Ranch Records.
Nice.
It's awesome.
Okay,
And
I have a Utah question.
yeah.
What is your favorite? What are they called? Spiked sodas? Is that what they're called with the cream and everything?
Yes.
What is
okay.
your favorite like spiked soda combination?
To be honest with you, man, like I know soda is a huge thing and like in Utah, but I haven't really delved into all of those.
You got a
things.
Pepsi.
I do got a Pepsi.
You got the Beppers.
Are you a
Let's
Pepsi or a
see.
Coke guy?
I think he's answering the question already.
I
That
think
seems
today
like
it changes, but today I love cherry Pepsi though.
Interesting.
Like I don't if it's between a regular Coke and a regular Pepsi, I think I would do the Coke. But between cherry Coke and cherry Pepsi, I kind of have to give it a cherry.
So what
Pepsi.
would you if it was cherry Pepsi and regular Coke? We're
That's
doing bracket
that's
style.
the real
Then cherry Pepsi.
Okay.
I
Wow.
love cherry flavor. It's
Okay.
like my favorite soda ever.
Interesting.
Speaking of that, I'm gonna crack it open right
Go
now.
ahead.
Give us a wait.
Oh, I had
Yes,
to.
yeah.
My bad. Here, I'll do a little.
ASMR for the people. There we go. Kate's face.
The one dude with the headphones just made a moaning face, bro.
He enjoyed that.
He's like, oh yeah. No, that's awesome. So like, what in Utah got you to be like, all right, music, let's go?
Well, I was like, I mean, I've always been in the art world since growing up. Like, I mean, I did a little bit of sports in like elementary, and I played baseball and basketball in middle school. But I always did like theater camps growing up in the summer.
Cool.
I would do all the like musical theater stuff through the college that's there, University of Utah. And eventually I found myself in dance in middle school. I did a lot of like hip hop and like breakdancing and
Okay.
like popping. I was super into it. I was like
Boom
I'm
house.
full boom house.
Boom house.
Boom house.
Is that right? Boom house.
Oh, boom like the boom crew.
Boom crew.
You got it. You got
Man,
it.
come
I was
on.
like boom house.
Boom house. Go.
correct.
Boom house. And I was like, am I supposed to?
No,
Boom
sorry.
crew,
That
there
was
you
on
go.
me. I messed up.
No, you're good.
Oh, that
Boom
could
crew.
have been that was gonna be Micah's Nardwar moment, but
Yeah, I was trying to be-
Yeah,
so
no,
close.
that was. You were
He
so
was
like,
so
what?
close.
I'm not Nardwar. I don't got it yet.
Dxcklin. You're Dxcklin. You have to know.
Keep on rocking in the fruit. I don't know what he says. Yeah, right. Okay, so
Rewind.
Boom Crew.
Boom crew.
Was that like in high school sort of thing?
Yes, that was high school. That
Describe
was like,
to us what is Boom Crew?
It was like so Millennium Dance is like the overall company that runs that crew. There's one here in LA.
Okay.
There's huge like big commercial like dance studio. They have like other mediums too, like contemporary and modern dance and dance hall and all sorts of things. But they also do like commercial hip hop. I'm sure you've seen like some videos of people in studios like doing their thing. You've probably seen a Millennium Dance before. That's
Okay.
there's cameras in there all the time. But there's one in Salt Lake, and it's a little smaller. And Boom Crew is just basically like the hip hop company they ran there, and there was like 20 of us. We were all ages between 14 to like 20.
Okay.
How old were you when you started?
That would be like freshman, sophomore. So I was like 15, 16.
Okay.
And it was so fun. Like before I joined the crew, I was just taking class there, just like regularly.
Yeah.
And I would take it with just a bunch of different teachers, and I was like, oh, this is so sick. Like I want to be a part of this space. I want to like hang out with these people. And then I just like jumped in and just got super into it. Like I wanted to like, I would always be that guy. They'd be like, okay, one person jump in, go. And I'd like jump in and like do my whole thing, and, like go crazy. And like at first, I would just like, I wouldn't be like crazy good. I would just do it anyway.
Yeah.
And then, they just like took me in. They just liked my energy. So
That's awesome.
They put me on the crew, and then I just like would learn the choreo and learn how to do spacing. And that's where I learned a lot of like my rhythm, I feel like, and a lot of like structures and music too. Like I listened, like that got me into hip hop, like Kendrick was one of my first like artists I really fucked with, like in high school, like freshman year. I was like
Okay, yeah.
the best. Like
So dancing growing up, and then you eventually made it to music.
Yeah.
How would you say that like the cultures of the dance group? You were saying like everyone would be like, get in there, someone go up.
Yeah.
How does that culture compare to the music collaboration culture that you kind of that you're in now? Like, is it similar? Do you see parallels between the dance collaboration culture and the music collaboration culture?
Yeah.
Or is it completely different? Like, what's going on?
I feel like, man, that's a great question. That's honestly a great question for Tina, honestly, because Tina's the dancer. But I think I would say, nailed it. Come on, high five. That's a great question. You get a high five too.
I can sleep happy tonight.
I would say like, I feel like in music world, I guess in the last couple of years too, since we've all just kind of been pushing on Reels and TikTok to like put our music and our sound out there into the world on social media and whatnot. I think like dance can teach you to delete that fear button because you're physically entering the space, like in a cipher.
Yeah.
Whereas like in music and things like that, like I'd say, you know, when you're starting off and you know whatnot, 60% of your time is probably spent on posting and uploading and doing things and like putting yourself out there on the internet.
Totally.
So I think like deleting your fear button in your own room or in your own space, like in front of a camera, you know, like in dance, it was about the people around you. But in music, I feel like that's my like fear.
You got to
like
delete the fear. I love that. That's a great way to say like, you know, it's like one of my favorite things. This is so corny, but like my life has changed because of this movie. You know, We Bought a Zoo.
I don't think
Oh yeah, that's.
I thought you were about to say like some
I thought you were
cinematic universe or like you know.
We bought it. You were like, damn, they really bought that zoo.
Changed my life.
They really did.
I want to buy a zoo now. So that's what. No, but there's a clip. I think it's Matt Damon in there, and he's just like talking to his son. He was like talking about how he likes some girl or something. He's like, dude, all you need is like just 20 seconds of courage. You do 20 seconds of courage, and then like then you could be like a wuss for the rest of it, you know? But like just 20 seconds, go up, say something, do something. 20 seconds, hit record. 20 seconds, get in the circle or whatever, start busting it down. I think that's been like so crazy to me because I'll like see someone who I know, or I'm like, I'm such a big fan of them. It's just 20 seconds, go, talk to them. And if something happens, something happens. You know what I mean?
And you know, I had a situation like that. I was at like it was Johan Lennox. He hosted an event.
It's awesome.
And which was a great event, by the way. That was super fun. And I remember meeting Felly there. And I saw Felly across the room. And Felly's been like my dude, through high school and everything. And like I listened to all his music. And it's that 20 seconds of courage. Like I don't think I would have said hi to him if I just like went up to him and I was just like, hey, Felly. Like he already knows he's Felly. You know? Yeah. Like I don't need to be like, hey, what's your name? Like, you know, I don't need to do that.
Let's connect. No,
like exactly. I just wanted to like have that like
hey, I appreciate you.
Exactly.
Moment.
Because like I know that if anytime I ever get that appreciation, I love it and I appreciate it and I want to have that time with that person because you know, if they connected to me in that sort of way, then I'm just gonna be like, I want to connect with you back. I want to say hi to you and potentially work with you if that's something that is of interest to the both of us.
Totally.
So, that was a great like moment right there too.
So I feel like going into this too, like I feel like there's a big aspect of music where you have to really like let go of yourself and just let the music speak for itself a lot of the times. I know that you're doing that as a producer, not only as yourself as an artist, but like you're also DJing, you're working with Buppy, you're working with all these people. Like for you, do you think that there was like a sense of like that jump in that was like literally physically you jumping into that circle that like then played a part into you like jumping and then like, hey, we should produce together, or hey, we should, you know what I mean?
No, totally. I would say like, you know, well, because Buppy's been my main collaborator for like the longest time. You know, because we both sort of kind of grew up together, whether like, you know, he went to Park City High School for a bit and I was in my own world for a second. And like, we kind of did this through our earlier years, but we really connected in music when I started getting into production. And, you know, he was like, wow, like if you're trying to make beats, like I'm trying to rap, like we should just get up and just hang out together. And we really bonded during that time in that moment, especially that summer before we left to LA, which was that senior year for me. And
where was COVID in the mix of this? I'm just curious.
So that summer before I moved to LA was during 2020. So it was a couple months after March is when that was kind of happening. I was finishing my senior year. So I graduated in front of a camera, which is kind of funny.
Same.
I was the only person on the stage. And my audience was my immediate family. And that was it. Which was crazy.
That's what I mean.
You did it.
Shout out immediate family though.
Yeah.
Thank you for being there. Right? During that summer, it was just about like, you know, we really couldn't do like a whole lot. And my mom specifically didn't want me doing a lot. She was like really nervous about COVID and whatnot and getting exposed and like bringing it into the
feel like
house.
everyone was.
Everyone was bugging, especially
when March came out.
those first couple months when like we didn't really understand it. And people were like wiping down their groceries with like sanitizing shit before they took them inside. And like,
The paper towels were gone, non-existent.
Yeah, dude. That was crazy.
You just saw the
Every
human
shelf was
condition, bro.
empty.
No, yeah, I went
so
to
wild.
when school shut down one night. We all went from the dorms and we went to the local Vons just to have a look. 'Cause
Yeah.
we knew there was gonna be nothing there, but we just kind of wanted to like partake in this moment where like everything's going to shit. And then we get to that Vons. When I tell you, it was like an apocalypse had hit. It was.
That's what it was for a bit, though.
Insane, because this was the. In California, at the same time everything shut down in California, was the same time we had wildfires. So we were in our dorm. We couldn't see to the end of the street because of the smoke. It's like orange sky. Can't see to the end of the street. There's nothing in any of the stores. Everything's boarded up and closed down. And we're walking around like this, not just because of COVID, but because of the smoke that's in the
of the
air.
smoke in
That's
the air.
totally
And it was
apocalyptic.
genuinely, we were
Yeah.
all kind of like, yo, this is actually, like, we were all feeling a little bit like,
You see a
this is-
zombie, and you're just like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, I was like, what's gonna come out of this mist in front of me? It's like the fucking triangle man's gonna come out dragging his fucking sword. Like, it was a terrifying time to be in California.
Utah had a very similar experience because like we had terrible pollution in Utah.
Yeah.
Like the valley is like so vast because we have those two big mountainsides in between the city. So whether we can't. It's so hard to control it because all that smog just gets trapped in there. And so we've had similar experiences where we've got crazy orange skies, or like we have beautiful sunsets, but only because of all the pollution that's in the air. And yeah, it was just like, it was difficult during that time for sure. Like, but it was great for me because I was just kind of, I would say, I was like 6 months into producing at that point. Like when March hit of 2020, I was like starting I'd say like a year. I started my junior year.
Okay.
I was in GarageBand for a bit, and then I went to Logic, and I was working in Logic during my time in March. And I was just, I already knew basic guitar. I was guitar on and off my whole life too.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I kind of picked it up as a kid and like, was trying to learn Seven Nation Army, or like
Yeah.
Metallica or like Master of Puppets or whatever. And then, I put it down because like, oh, I can't fucking do this.
Yeah.
And then, a couple years later, I'll be like, oh, I want to try again. And then I get better. And I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. Like now I can kind of play.
Yeah.
So then that got me hooked a little more. And then I got really into wanting to learn how to play guitar because when I wanted to make music and I wanted to make good music, I was like, fuck, like I want to know how to play guitar. Like I need to know how to do this because I want to make good beats and the only way I thought about it at that time was, I know you can do MIDI and all these sort of things or grab samples, but I literally, I didn't know any of that yet. I didn't know Splice existed.
Yeah.
I didn't know,
Yeah, that-
I only knew that Apple Loops existed. Did you say shout out Splice?
Yeah.
Shout out Splice. No,
Shout out Splice, for real.
Splice changed the whole fucking
Splice
world.
changes the moment you download Splice for the first time. You open that bitch up.
Yeah.
That is like that's when the
The
mask
first one-
lifts.
The first
for
one was
producers.
on Chrome. It was a Looperman. Have you heard of that one?
I've heard of
I
it.
use
couldn't
Looperman. I don't
tell
own
you-
Splice. I used to. I don't really do Looperman all that much
I
anymore.
went back to Looperman, honestly, like a week ago. I still found the same sample I used like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's so outdated now.
I know.
That's whatever. But yeah.
But Looperman was the shit when I figured out like
Facts.
that you could sample and that you could just like, I could just grab a piano progression and then just like throw some drums. Like,
Yeah.
done.
Song
I'm
done.
so good at
Easy.
Song done. Easy.
Give
And
me
then-
the Grammy.
Yeah, give me the Grammy. Let's rack it up. And so, yeah, I tried to learn guitar, and then I figured out sampling, and then I mostly kind of just started doing like honestly like hip hop production. I was trying to make like melodic rap, because like I knew a lot of the artists that I wanted to kind of work with at that time in that little scene that I was in, like, or just noticing who was posting on SoundCloud at that time.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they're all making like Juice WRLD type beats, like that was kind of that moment for me.
That was his moment. Yeah.
And so I was trying to produce a bunch of like melodic rap stuff. There was like an old project that Buppy never put out, but like I worked on like a ton of beats for that. And then another artist, Peach, who is who actually just dropped with Zedrin recently.
Okay.
Who is a good friend of mine. We collab all the time. And he actually is from Utah as well. And he was one of my first like producer placements.
That's
like,
awesome.
Where like he was kind of that big artist at the time, you know, like he had like 200-300K on a song, and I was like, okay, like, you know, I got in the studio with him, and then we worked on a song, and he dropped it on SoundCloud, and it was like 5,000-6,000 views for me, and I was like,
this is easy.
I made it.
Awesome.
I made it.
Yeah, I was like, I made that beat in like 30 minutes, and I was like, oh my God, like, this is awesome. Like, I mean, it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, going back and
Totally,
looking back
yeah,
at it.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, at that time, I was like, dude, this is it. Like, I definitely want to keep doing this.
Okay. And then, so when did you, I guess when we already said, but what were you hoping to find in LA that you weren't getting in Utah? And did you find it now that you're here?
I think at first, like, because Utah has a big band scene.
Okay.
Like, they're big indie bands, rock bands, punk bands. Like, they're huge in that world for all of those. And so, but that's not the world that I started in. So I didn't think about that world at all. I did try to make a band with a friend at that time, but it was just kind of like, we were just kind of jamming, honestly. And so what I wanted to find in LA was simply just like people who just like did what I did. Like there wasn't a lot of it in Utah. There was not a lot of like people trying to make beats like
just
that.
kind of one-man army it a little bit.
Exactly. Like there wasn't like the one-man army studios in Utah like just yet. Like it was like maybe like 6 to like 12 months later where you started seeing actual like other producers come out of Utah a little bit, coming to LA or like staying in Utah or making trips to LA, et cetera. So I was just like, dude, like I really just want to find like other people who are doing what I am trying to like figure out.
That's so interesting hearing that from your perspective. I came from Colorado, and like Colorado, they have like folk scene to an extent. Colorado, but they, but the thing was like, I didn't have anyone in my circle, like no bands, no nothing. So I was just like in the box always.
Yeah, like I tried to make music with my friends who like weren't really making music. You know, like that's kind of how you start. Like you don't make music and he doesn't make music, but like we're all just gonna sit down.
What if
and
we
just, like,
did make music?
yeah, we did make, and we would just sit down on GarageBand and like make some like funny ass little tunes. But yeah, like I wanted to take it further, but like yeah, like none of my friends at that time or in high school like wanted to take it further like that. Or take it seriously like that.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to like shoot a video and like I didn't want to just like take a camera out and like try to shoot something. Like I was trying to make like how do I resemble what I said in this song like the best in my ability to like in the video format.
Yeah.
Like how could I do that? And so that was always the question that I think a lot of artists who are here now for sure. Like everyone in this room. Like that's the question that you ask yourself, and that's the only question that you have that will get you to the point where you are now. Is how can I literally just further my expectation on myself and like push past what I think is possible, and like that's literally it.
Well, it's cool. It's so awesome you say that too, because I feel like that you can hear that in your music as an artist too.
Thank you.
I know you're producing a lot. I know you're doing that, but at the same time, there's this whole other category that you have under your belt, which is your music.
Yeah.
And like it's cool because I can hear like the band elements, but also it's very much individual at the same time too. Like I just think that's super cool that you're talking about like push past your stuff because I've noticed that from listening to your discography, kind of like going through, and it's just like, no, there's someone who's like totally about like the live sound, but at the same time is very much accepting because, you know, there are a lot of people can really push past a lot of the new age hyperpop and the new alternative stuff. But I feel like you kind of take the old, take the new, and bring them together. And I think you're one of many artists who does that really well. Do you see yourself in like a category of like moving sound forward, or are you just like a dude making beats or something?
I really, because like I figured out hyperpop when I moved to LA.
Yeah.
Like, I listened to Underscores in high school, like late high school.
Yeah.
That was like my first entry into that world, and you know, because I listened to like EDM and stuff too.
Totally.
And, like, I was a dubstep kid in middle school.
Shout
Like,
out Skrillex.
yeah,
for real.
shout out Skrillex in middle school. Like
Comeback of the century too.
I had that little man.
Well, he never disappeared. He just like won a bunch of Grammys for other people.
I know. Yeah, you're right.
I just remembered that there's this little app on your iPad that can make dubstep for you. I think that was the first thing I started in production. It's like gray. It looked like Ableton, honestly. I can't remember
Oh,
the
is
name
it like
of
one
it.
of like the Launchpad apps? Where
I
like
think
a
so.
bunch
And
of
you just like
different-
press
yeah.
the sounds and you just could like throw little loops together and you just press around.
I think I might have had something kind of similar. Yeah.
That
I
was my-
wonder how many of those like really stupid apps have like started artist careers. You know what I mean?
No, for real. Like, I wonder if they ever like, well, they probably collaborated or did something in now like worlds like, you know, with Sony or Roland or
Yeah, who knows?
some bigger music. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who freaking knows?
Okay, so yeah, you say you love doing things outside of the box. We're talking about like kind of pushing it forward. When you work with other artists, so not on your stuff, but when you're producing for other people, do you take a different stance, or do you still try to keep that that Grant sound in their music, or are you like, listen, let's do what you want to do?
Honestly, like, well, it kind of just depends on the artist. I feel like with Buppy, for instance, you know, we're both very directive people. We're both very like, we want it a certain way. I think we both have found a way that we can both just kind of like, our ideas just stack like this now. They used to be like this, but I feel like it's like this now, where we can just be like, because he knows what he wants to. Like, he'll walk in the room and like, you know, he'll write his 16 and like he'll want to make sure it's like the 16 before he records. And he'll make sure that the beat is like the beat before it changes. And, you know, I'm kind of the same way too. Like, if I start something in the session and we're 5-10 minutes in and like no one's really trying to vibe to it just yet, like I will just be like, hey dude, we can just like, we'll just start from
Switch it
scratch.
up, yeah.
We'll just switch it up. Like we can speed it up. We'll slow it down. Like I will just kind of, I just really think it's about reading the room.
True.
Okay, and then on that note, how important in a session for another artist, how important is it for you that they come in knowing that, like knowing what they want? Or like, how comfortable are you with like, because I know I've worked with people where they're like, listen, man, I got some lyrics. I don't got any chords. I don't have a key. I don't have this. I don't have that. And then sometimes you have, here's my lead sheets. Here's my, you know, all my chords, all of this.
Yeah.
For you as a producer, how important is that kind of on the artist side?
I mean, I feel like the artist's expectation, you know, like I think the reason why we wanted to work together in the first place is like, if they're coming to the room, they've heard my sound somewhere.
Yeah.
And so they have an expectation of what's possible. And so I think they know what can be done. They don't know the process of what made that happen, but they know that it can achieve this certain way. And so I think they come in excited to see what can be done. And, you know, I just think also like the hospitality too, I think making them feel like they're comfortable and welcome in the space. Like I really try to make sure that like, they feel like they can write whatever, like to the best of their ability and like, or write whatever it is that they need to do. I'm not super directive on like trying to be like, you know, like this is how you should write it. Cause I think I do leave the writing to the artist most of the time. Because I also don't feel like I want to like jump on that. But I'll have a certain formula for how I structure a beat. Like I'll probably start off with the hook first. I'll just keep building the biggest moment of what I think the song is going to be. Just like, I just keep going with ideas. Like, I think like another thing too is like a wow factor. Like just kind of like in dance or things like that. Like, you know, if someone does a crazy move on the thing, everyone's like, holy shit, that was sick. Like, I don't know how you did that. Like, I think like in a way like that for, I don't know, show off as a producer. You know, if you got all the gadgets, like show them all the gadgets. And then like, show them all the crazy shit. And
this
then,
knob does this.
Exactly. And then they're like, whoa, like put that on the beat, you know?
Yeah, right.
And then that gets them hype and inspired. And then they'll be like, wow, like I didn't know that could happen. And then just show them everything you can do at first and don't feel like you have to be like, first we're going to start with the foundation. And then
we're going to put down 4 chords.
Yeah, and I'm just, exactly.
You're not
like,
teaching them.
Be like, like a 1-4-5. I'm thinking like, you know, I don't have to nerd out on them. I just want to show them that this is like what can be done.
This was music. Yeah. So going into that though, here's the thing is when you were starting up, were you and Buppy friends outside of the music sphere, or like, so you kind of like knew each other? I think that's what you're saying.
We oddly met through dance. Like,
really?
So I was teaching at my school, like really basic hip hop stuff. Because like I was kind of the only kid at my school who, I was the only boy who was in the company at my school.
You were the only one with rhythm. He was the only one with any rhythm.
And like I would just be like, okay, like hip hop, like that's what I can do, so I'm gonna teach that. And then I was ninth grade and he was 7th or 6th grade at that time. And we went to the same school at this point. This is how I met him.
Gotcha.
And he like joined my class because he didn't want to take PE. Like that's what happened. Like it was either dance or PE. So like he walks in and then we're just like hanging out and like dancing together and stuff. And I was like, dude, I like this kid. And we would just hang out outside of school at that point.
So, but the question is, do you find it easier to be friends with the people that you're producing? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's an interesting switch that I realized.
Yeah, we kind of have this discussion with Eleanor too.
Yeah, but like this whole conversation where it's like, hey, we all like, when I first moved to LA, I thought we're all just one big happy family. We'll all pay each other and then just make music and it's all just fun, sunshine and rainbows. But sometimes there are also things that you just have to sit down and like grind on because like this is like a clientele or, you know, you have to treat it more like a business.
Yeah.
You know, like for you, did you find like the relationship producing with Buppy in like a friendship sort of way? Is that where you reside or is it for you way more like, let's just do the business stuff?
I think at first it was very much like I really could only work with friends. I felt like I wasn't super comfortable working with other people like that just yet. You know, when like, because at first, like I wasn't even producing the tracks for Buppy that were like making him pop off. Like, you know, he had Violence and Open My Letter and Cold Nights in Hollywood. Like I didn't work on any of those songs, you know? And so at that time he was like popping off and blowing up. I was still grinding my producing game. I was figuring out some mixing. I was like still working on my project. I was starting some solo stuff. I was producing for a couple of different people. I was mainly working online with friends I met. Oh man, this is gonna be a story. I might have to backtrack it a second.
We're good. I'm ready.
So during COVID, during the time I was working with Ed, I was also working with a lot of the friends who I sort of mentioned in this interview as well, like Zedrin, Jordan Everett, Kenji, Zach, who is the videographer for Kenji, who goes by Flux now. Man, why am I forgetting all of their names right now?
Yeah, if he didn't say your name, he doesn't like you anymore. Like,
yeah,
he's past you, bro.
I don't fuck with you anymore. They're gonna watch this interview and just be like, "Man, you fucking suck,
you asshole."
Yeah, you fucking asshole.
No, if you want, if you remember anyone, we can throw up some text or whatever.
Yeah. But I worked with all of them a lot just on Zoom, and that's where I learned a lot of my chops, like
that's
how
cool.
to produce and like work with people and like how to produce for other people. Was just like I worked during the day. I worked at a restaurant during the day, and then at night I would go on Zoom or on Discord or whatever, and I would just like work with them till like 2 a.m. and then just rinse and repeat for like a whole year when I first moved out here. That was pretty much my whole life. And then eventually, after kind of like figuring out some of my sound and what I liked from that moment of like making all that music, like, you know, because Buppy was popping off and he found himself in some, you know, other studios around LA and he was doing all these sort of things. Like this is where it comes back to that 20-second like jump situation where like, it wasn't like he was going to be like asking me all the time whether I want to come or not. Like I jumped in and had to be like, yo, can I go to the session with you? And then he would be like, sure. Like, yeah, why not? And then, and in those moments when, you know, the producer he was working with at that time or whatever, like, let's say maybe the session was like kind of neutral or like we didn't know what was going on. Like I would be like, hey, do you mind if I take on the laptop? And then like I'd be driving and then like we would like build it together and then
it's cool.
So like
it's getting yourself in the room.
Like, you know, Buppy I really think like he didn't take my music just because I was his friend. Like I had to prove and be like, I am objectively a good producer. Like, it's not just about like a homie thing where it's like, oh yeah, I'll put you on to any song you want, dog. Like it really is about like, we're trying to make good music. Can you make good music? And like, I think knowing the difference between the two and how those two can work together too is like where you hit money.
Facts.
You know? And so like, that's just what happened. Like, I just had to be like, yo, like, I need to be like, I want to be on top of it. And yeah, like, I want to work with my friend and I want to work with these other people too. So I'm gonna jump in these sessions and I'm gonna do all this and I'm gonna put my name out there, like through like not just like being a friend of someone else, but because
you yourself are the person. Like you're not known as like, oh, that guy's friend. You know, you're like, no, I'm me. I'm a producer. I'm this, and that.
Yeah.
And going into that, let's talk about you a little bit. So like, Real Music, the EP.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Was that like what you were working on as you were trying to hone in your sound? Or what was
that came after Stuck in the Middle, which was like, I think the first record I had that like I really put my time into TikTok with that song.
Yeah. Which popped off, by the way. Fun fact, I heard that song before I met you. Like,
really?
I knew that song. And when I like, kid you not, when like the first time I met or something, I like, oh, let me check out, you know, his music and stuff. And I was like, he's the guy? What? Like, I heard that song on TikTok, liked it, and like was a part of it. And then like, I don't know, it's a weird tangent, but
thanks, man.
It's just crazy. Yeah. So keep going.
But yeah, it popped off on TikTok. That was like my first kind of like social media moment, like ever in my life, for myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is fucking sick. And I was just really trying to make it like, you know, the best it can be. And like, you know, it really popped off on Reels, which was awesome. And, you know, people love the song. I love the song. It's got great energy. So,
music video is sick for that too, by the way.
Yeah. Shout out Zach Flux. He did all the editing.
So that was Zach.
Yep.
Did he go by a different name?
He went by Graffiti.
Okay, because I was trying to look him up, and I'm like, this dude is just off the face of the earth. I don't know where he went. I was like, I want to ask like about this guy or whatever, but I couldn't find him. So.
But yeah, Graffiti was former name. And so I, you know, we collaborated on that together. And like, you know, I even like, I mean, I love film and video too. Like I shot a lot of the classroom scenes in that video and like did some of the editing. And, you know, Zach like put his spice and his sauce and what he does best, like his editing, his grading, and put the overall story together. But yeah, I love being a part of that process too.
That's super
being
cool.
on the video side.
So you're one of the artists that like, they like to kind of have their fingers in all of the pies. You know, you want to be part of the video process, part of the photography process, maybe part of the marketing process.
I've never heard fingers in all of the pies. That's the weird.
As soon as I said it, I was like, these motherfuckers are gonna find that real funny. No, I've worked with our musicians who are like, hey, here's my song. This is the day I'm free to shoot the video. Let me know. You know, like, let me know what you come up with. You know, and then I've also worked with musicians who on the other end, they're like, here's the brief that I've come up with already. Here's what I want in the video. You know, so you're
totally.
Would you say you're more on that side of it as opposed to the?
I think I am more on that side of it, and I think that's because I'm just a directive person. Like I've kind of said before, like I just really need it to.
You
be
know
like
what you want.
I know what I want. But also, like, I feel like I didn't really have a choice. Like, it wasn't like a videographer was coming up to me and being like, yo, I would die to work on this project. You know, like, I had to be like, I worked with Graffiti. I hit up other videographers too. You know, like I tried to hit up some other people and I was like, dude, this project's incredible. Like, I would love to work on this video.
Hey, what you doing? You know.
Overcast. Hey, guys.
I got problems mentally.
Yeah, right.
Kind of insane. You know, good line, you know, fish for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I really just had to like, I felt like I had to have the treatment ready. Otherwise, it wouldn't have gotten done. I was like, I need a video for this song. I want to have a video for this song. Like, and I had to make it happen in some sort of way. And so I feel like it's like both. Like, I feel like if the videographer is also that way, where they want to like write the treatment and they have the story in mind, like, I'll be like, yeah, sure. Like, please, like, write the story. Like, I'm interested to see what, like, I'd love to see what you come up with, because it is something off my back I don't need to focus on.
Totally.
Like, at the end of the day, you know? But if I want to make it happen and no one else is figuring out how to make it happen, like, I will write that treatment. I'll go out and shoot it myself. I'll show what it can be before, it goes back to that proving. Like, I'll make the trailer and I'll, like, make all this stuff and I'll show you what I think is possible.
What it can be,
And then the videographer will be like, oh, wow, this is sick. Yeah, I'd love to work on this.
Yeah.
Now I'm into it.
Totally.
And so I mean, graffiti, that wasn't the case with the graffiti. Graffiti was totally down to work with me. I showed him the treatment and he was like, dude, like, let's fucking do it.
Was that just a DM sort of thing? Like, did you know him prior? Or was that
I knew him through the internet prior because he does a lot of the videos for Kenji.
Okay, cool.
And when I knew Kenji, video-wise, Kenji far exceeded us. And like in 2020, far exceeded everyone.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Graffiti's fucked. Like, he's so good.
That's awesome.
And he did so many cool concepts with Kenji's music. And like, Kenji's all about creating a different character, a persona, you know? And he really captures that so well. And that's what brought me to his work. And I was just like, holy fuck. Like, at that time, Kenji was like the man. Like, we were like, bro, you're gonna like blow up.
Yeah.
Like, when we were just starting music. And so, yeah, like, it just kind of happened through there. He moved to LA the year after. So like the second year I moved to LA, all the people I worked with online that I talked about, they all eventually, you know, from their perspective areas, just all flew. And we lived in LA. And so then I got to meet them for the first time, which was a great, awesome moment. And then we just got working. Like,
that's awesome.
Everyone's working on videos and that whole apartment is a project room, basically.
That's cool.
Which is awesome.
That's been one of the things where I've always tried to be like, okay, living with people, working together, sometimes it can get monotonous. You know what I mean? Like, I've like been like, yo, let's, you know, my friends, like, you know, not a hype house, so to speak, but because that's a dated term.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? Like, oh, let's all get together and like just cook
Get a
up
house,
and like, it'll be crazy, dude. We'll like throw parties, you know, whatever. But I've realized there's sometimes where like you kind of have to come to reality with some things like that, but at, like, you know, like other people's work schedules, other people's genres and music and stuff. But there are other times where it can be a really cool blend of a bunch of different styles and genres and people and, you know, like personality and stuff. So I think that that's one of the best things that LA has to offer, in my opinion, is just the fact that you can just meet random people and just like merge into
And
like,
random people are so down. And that's what's so sick. Like, people really are just like wanting to be a part of the culture, and the culture is just about the connection. It's like the moments at Make Out Music or something when everyone's like in the same room, and like it's just about like, yeah, you could talk to that person and connect, and like, you know, you're getting your connections and you're networking and things, but like it starts in the mosh pit. I feel, you know, like it starts with just everyone just like hyping up the artists who like work their ass off to get on that stage, and it's just like that moment where everyone's like going crazy. Like everything is punk, and like those moments when people are all together, and like, you know, Tommy and Jonah and Paco and all those people who started doing that, like they're just, they're crushing it.
Well, that's how we originally, I know that you two knew each other before that, but that's how we met, was at the Dumb Days show.
Yes.
Yeah, when you were doing the after DJing, right? Either the before or the after DJing, or both?
Oh, yeah, with, I was doing it with
Buppy.
Yeah, with Buppy. We were doing a duo DJ set that night.
That's right,
Yep. And then, God, that was so funny.
God, that night was insane. I broke my phone that night. My phone got fucked that night.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I was in that green room, like hanging out for a second. I got way too high before that set.
Oh, really?
I did. I went up and then I was like, just, okay, here we go. But it was, yeah, exactly.
It feels like forever.
No, for real. I was like, I'm turning the filter. I'm like, oh, that's sick. Yeah, that was funny. That was a great set, though. I love doing that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about two things. There's two things I want to bring up. One is the DJing, but real quick, the Fender Stratocaster, the Kenny Beats guitar.
Yeah,
the Kenny Beats guitar.
We could talk about the Louis guitar.
So how'd you get? So I know we had a pop-up shop. You just walked in and was like, were they selling a bunch? I wasn't there.
No,
so
yeah, I was already in the market for a guitar.
Yeah.
So like it was already like planned. It was already in motion. And, you know, I got sent an ad by my friend. It was like, dude, like Kenny Beats is having a pop-up for his Louis album. And for everyone to know, Kenny Beats is like my fucking man. Like, you know, I'm sure like to everyone else too. Like watching his Twitch every day, learned so much from that dude.
Totally.
All his music and The Cave and just his concepts are incredible. yeah, I walked into the Louis shop. That was such a surreal moment. First off, I'm 6'5", okay? Like, I'm pretty tall. This dude's like 6'8" or like 6'10".
Really?
Yes.
I've heard he's tall. Yeah,
I know he was.
He put his arm on my shoulder, and I was like,
This has never happened to me before.
yeah, I was I was like, dude, not only like are you just mentally in my headspace like the biggest dude I know, but you're physically huge.
Dude.
Like, you're physically tall as fuck.
That's
and I was
awesome.
like, yeah, I got a picture with him, and like, I was like, dude, I was playing the guitar at that moment too, and I was like, nah, this is the guitar. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get this. And I told him, I was like, Kenny, like, I bought the guitar. Like, I did it. And he like just gave me a hug. He's like, you're gonna fucking love this guitar. Like, I promise
so
you, this
cool.
isn't like, this isn't a marketing ploy, my friend. Like, I like made this guitar for producers. Like, you're gonna fuck with this thing.
That's so
And
cool. I saw a clip. I don't know if it was maybe you that posted it or something, like just on Instagram, but it was of his stream where he was talking. He's like, yeah, I met a kid named Grant.
Dude,
he's talking about you, bro.
Yeah, he just casually talked about me. Like, after like that night, he like after the Louis pop up, I went home and I got a text from my friend. I wasn't even watching his stream. I just went home and I was just like hanging out and playing the guitar,
Yeah,
just,
right.
whatever. Like, I wasn't even focused on that. And I got a text from my friend. He's like, hey, Kenny just said Grant on his like stream. Did you go to his pop up today? And I was like, I did. And he's like, you should watch his stream right now. So I went on the stream and like, yeah, he just said like, I'm gonna play at South. I told him I was gonna play South by Southwest.
Yeah.
That's where Buppy went for Austin. And I was like, dude, I'm gonna bring the guitar with me and I'm gonna play it at South by. He's like, take pictures and like send them to me. He never saw the pictures, or at least I don't know if he did. But yeah, fuck you, Kenny. I'm just kidding.
Whoa.
Kenny, why would you do that to my boy?
It's like, I bought the guitar, I love it, but then this guy.
Yeah, I
Never
spent
saw the pictures.
$1,500 and you can't even look at the picture of it. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
Switch up
We're
quick.
coming for you, Kenny.
Yeah, that's getting posted as a TikTok, by the way. Grant has.
Yeah.
Grant, what's the word?
Grant.
Beef. Wow. Grant has beef with Kenny Beats.
Yeah,
It's
man.
new.
I guess anything to get the views, right?
Yeah,
I don't
right,
know.
bro.
For real.
We're gonna have like a. Never mind. I was gonna do a thumbnail bait, but I'm not gonna do that. DJing.
DJing.
How so? Like, where in the DJing
Smoothest
process?
segue
I
we've
know,
ever
I'm
had
smoother
right
than
there.
that. I'm smoother than that. But so how'd you get into the that sort? Because I feel like there's like the production side.
Yeah.
There's then the playing music side, and then there's DJing. I feel like those are the three like sort of
The three
things.
pillars of
pillars
music.
of
The three
music.
pillars of music. I got a DJ board for my birthday, like in high school. So
Awesome.
I was trying to like learn how to scratch at that time, because like, that's kind of how I got, I was doing all that stuff and I was trying to
Yeah.
scratch and stuff. And then the board like pretty much was not used for like a long time. Like, I had the board, I used it for maybe 4 months, and then I was like, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
Like, DJing was a whole different concept at that time than making music. And then when I started making, the last like year or so, I started making house music a lot, making my own house music and like putting people in like remixing like people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remix Zach Greer's, I think, Conversations.
Okay, yeah.
And I posted that on TikTok, and like, he reposted it and was like, dude, this is like sick.
Awesome.
And so I started doing more remixes of other people, like other artists and things. So I got really into house world through that. I was already into house music, but I wasn't like making it. And then I like really started doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was just like, first off, Fred again really inspired me. Like, when he's just been, taking over the world for like, I don't know how long it's been. It feels
Yeah.
like it's been like not that long.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say,
But
I don't think it's been a crazy amount
Well,
of
when
time.
was his Boiler Room set? Was that like 2 years ago?
I believe so. But he's been like a producer and like a musician and in sessions with, like Billie Eilish and stuff.
Yeah.
People like that for a long time. So like, he's been around. But I think like the Boiler Room thing really blew him up. I think his projects of sampling artists and like throwing them on beats
Yep.
that he was making, like, of course, like took over the world. And so that re-inspired me to do DJing again, because I was trying to scratch at that time, which is like a whole different side of DJing and the technique.
Okay, yeah.
And, you know, when you're on a tiny little controller like that, like, you know, scratching is really about like the vinyl, and like there's a certain feel and touch with vinyl that scratching has, that there's certain like equipment and things. Like, you mean, it doesn't necessarily mean you need that equipment to do it, but like me being 15 and trying to scratch.
That's what held you back.
Is what held me back, was
totally,
like I wasn't getting what I want, and it was just like, you know, I was doing it in the kitchen at my mom's house. Like I didn't feel like I was like, you know, like
the man,
the fucking man I'm scratching. So I just put it away. And then I saw Fred again do all his house sets. And then I got more into Boiler Room and watching more Boiler Room sets. And that's how I got into like Umaru and stuff too. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is awesome. Like I want to start doing this. So I started just mixing random house music. And then I started putting my original house music in the set. And then I was like, oh, this is a great way for me to like perform. Yeah. Like, and it's like, for lack of better words, an easy way to perform. And so, yeah, I just started practicing more in my room and just wanted it to be something that was just like,
well, because that's the thing. That's the thing that's cool too. Is you can always be, if you have like a 6-piece band, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, hey, let's all like get together, network, or like let's start doing live shows here, and here. You know, that's one thing. And then it's also if you just have like a guy with a board, and if I'm a venue and I have to like pay you for like ticket sales or whatever at the end of the night, it would make a lot more sense for me to just pay the one dude than have to pay, you know, like this whole band that has to split it 7 ways. It's like this whole thing.
Totally.
You know?
And like and DJs also like, you know, your first gigs and things like that, you're kind of just like, you could be on a lineup for an artist gig or something and like you're the after party, you know?
Yeah, right.
So like the after party is just a great moment for you to just kind of be like, it doesn't matter what kind of crowd it is or not. Like I'm about to go up and just like play music. You
get comfortable on stage. And I'm not bashing other bands here too. I'm not saying that that's, you know, beauty in its own right.
Totally.
But I just like the new age, like what DJing has brought, like through the Boiler Room and all that stuff. There's so many other people that like, it's just cool to see, like, because that wasn't a thing, you know, like in the 1960s, you know, like no one was just like, whoa, you know, like throwing it down. But like,
Jimi Hendrix is like on the board. Like, that's what I just imagine. Awesome like, it's like, fuck the guitar, dude. Like, he's going to get his 4-deck and just like.
Michael Jackson's M-Walk was actually on the vinyl. Like,
Freddie Mercury's out there. He's going crazy, bro.
No, but that's what I'm saying is like, it's just a cool to see like this new art form take place. And like, also with, you know, with EDM, with house, with all these other things. And also going into kind of in a summary too, it's cool to see how that has also, you're adding another finger in a pie, so to speak.
You got another pie, bro.
You're adding a new thing to your belt. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden you can become confident in that. Next time you're with some random house vocalist or something, you can be like, can I try? Let me go. And then, you know, like,
no, and then it jumps off from there. Exactly. And like, you know, or like if there's a DJ at a party or something, you can kind of just be like, hey, do you want to go back to back?
Yeah.
And just then you have no idea whether that DJ at that party or not is like either a renowned DJ or just like a dude who's hanging out. Yep. Doesn't even matter. But like,
he might not even have been the DJ. He might have gone up to the original DJ and asked him back to back him.
Exactly.
You know?
So you haven't even, you just find yourself on the board and then you're just kind of like, oh shit, like, you know, he could be like, oh wow, you actually know what you're doing or whatever.
Yeah. And also learn from people too.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And I think it's a cool thing. Is there anything that we have not said that you feel like you really need to like speak to the world right now? Like anything. I know you have a new song coming out soon.
Yes. I have a new song that I'm working on. It's called You Could Do Your Worst. And, you know, I'm really in this like, you know, publicly I was really in this like punk space, this rock space, but I'm simmering it down for a little bit. This is really just about like my feelings and like my moment and like music right now. I'm loving folk music and Noah Kahan right now. And so I wrote a song just with my guitar and just lyrics, and it's very much inspired in that world. And so I'm just hoping that it translates well compared to what I think people are used to hearing from me. I
It's
like,
authentic though, so I think it'll be fine.
yeah, and
Yeah, it's
thank
still
you.
you. So.
So I'm really excited to put that out in the coming months. So I think that's something to look out for, and I'm also and I think I'm just gonna build it from there. And you'll probably see me live hopefully in the next 4 or 5 months or so. So yeah.
So where can everyone find you? Look in the camera if you do you want to say the thing because this is
Yeah,
your
bro's
thing.
taking my whole. I got all my. I have my whole thing.
He was
The
ready- he
one
was antsy.
thing.
He's like, okay, we're
you
getting
already
ready to-
took my intro,
I know,
and
but
now you're taking my
talking about
outro
like
too.
pies and stuff. I don't really want to hear it, man.
The pie counter. Do we
pie
have a
counter.
pie counter throughout this whole thing? How many times you said
We do
pie?
now.
No, it's
It didn't
great
exist
because
until
Micah
that
edits
sentence.
this, so I can just say like, "Oh yeah, we'll put text up right there,"
Yeah.
and then he's gonna do it. So
Thank you for saying that. I will now be adding a pie counter throughout the entire
yeah, I
podcast.
love
Thank you.
it.
That'll take up your next 3 hours.
Thank you, sir.
Trying to figure that
Appreciate
out. Of course.
No, but Grant, it's been amazing having you on. You've got this camera in the middle here. You've got this camera here.
Cool.
What do you want the people to know? Where can they find you?
You can
What are
find
they
me
looking for?
Dxcklin on Instagram. You could find me Dxckl1n on TikTok because I don't know who took it, but someone did.
Some asshole.
And yeah, there's a link on my page on my bio, solo.2/Dxcklin. You can find all of my production. You can find my own music. You can find pretty much everything I've done there. So go check it out and let me know what you think.
It's awesome.
Oh yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming down again.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Wilson, where can everyone find you?
Find me on Instagram and Twitter at Shoelace Music because I'm also trying to be a folky guy, but my own guy. We're all out here just grinding.
You're
so.
wearing socks, and you're the only person in this room not wearing shoelaces right now. This
True.
is
That's
the
a very
worst.
folk thing to do, though. Like I
Yeah.
feel like they.
It's terrible branding, though.
I think folk musicians wear Birkenstocks.
Yeah.
I like
Taylor
Chacos.
Swift definitely put on Burks and was like,
She
I'm
got
going to
the
write
stock
folklore.
song.
That was her one basis for that entire album. But yeah, you can find me Shoelace, spelled SHOOLACE, and then music. I hope you know how to spell that. Finlay, where can they find you? And then where can they find Roseflower Records?
You can find me on Instagram at Finlay Did It, because who did it?
Finlay did it.
Dude, I've got him trained so well now, it's great.
You trained that.
You can find Roseflower Records.
See? Oh, there's another. You go.
You can find Roseflower Records. You can find...
What are you doing? Right
I'm trying to get my outro done.
Oh,
Sorry, dude.
we're not
We
saying-
can give you the. Like, here, we can give you attention.
look
I'm
at me.
sorry.
Look
I'm
at me
sorry.
while I do this,
Yeah, yeah.
okay? Micah, now you're just...
Go.
You can find Roseflower Records at Roseflower Records on Instagram and TikTok, at Roseflower Records on X.
Oh yeah, I forgot they're X now.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Yo, like they have a character limit on their ads. Roseflower Records is too long, so it had to be at Roseflow Records,
Which goes hard. So
which is like, we can debate.
I like it.
And at www.roseflowrecords.com. You can email me or Micah at our names at roseflowrecords.com if you want to talk to us, or you can go to our website, www.roseflowrecords.com. Grant, again, thank you so much for coming. It's
Thank you,
been
boys.
So much fun.
Thank you so much. This has been awesome.
All right, and we'll see you all in a couple weeks on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Peace.